Shalom everyone, and this week we're learning Parashat Balak. Uh, Parashat Balak, you can find it in the book of Numbers, chapter 22, starting from verse 2. Vayar Balak ben Tzipor, and Balak, the son of Tzipor, saw whatever the Israelites did to the Amorites. Okay, this story is like really, it looks like it's taken from one of the saga multi-series of J.R. Tolkien about wizards, witchcraft, curses, stuff like this. But really, what's in it for us? I think it covers a very important issue in our lives, very important issue. How do we deal with other people's negativity? That could be on the real simple plane of there are enough evil, negative, non-caring, non-sensitive people around us, and how can we thrive when we are surrounded with so many people that we think that we are basically dependent on their mercies, which they are not really willing to share on one hand, and some people even more obsessive, and that goes into being obsessive about evil eye, witchcraft, negative energy, negative forces, and stuff like this, and that takes it to another level, which can be found, and I saw many of people like this, with obsessive fear from negative forces, metaphysical forces generated by others. And I think this parasha, Balak, has the answer for all of us. The story, first of all, the story. And by the way, in this year, 5783, 2023, we have the two parashot, the two readings of the people residing outside Israel and inside Israel. They get together again, and this Shabbat, outside of Israel, two parashot are being read, Chukat and Balak. In Israel, only Parashat Balak. So Parashat Balak applies to everybody all around the world for this week. Now the point again, what's the story? Now, background. The previous parasha, Parashat Chukat, is dealing with the Israelites after 40 years in the desert. They're making their way towards the promised land. They go in the Arabian desert of today. They go in eastern desert of what today is Jordan. They go around the land of Edom, the red rock, Petra, and the whole neighboring area, which is southeast to the Dead Sea. Then they continue to go in the desert upwards, going around the land of Moab, which is east of the Dead Sea. Now they're coming straight towards Jericho, and they're facing the Amorites. The Amorites are coming with a big army against them, although the Israelites did not have any intention to take over the land of the Amorites, which spread from the north of the Dead Sea. You need the map for that, all the way up to what is today the south of Syria, Edrei, there of today, and they just wanted to cross to in front of the river Jordan, in front of Jericho, and get themselves ready into invading the promised land. The Amorites, not just that they don't allow them to pass through, the Amorites attack them with full force, full might, and they're being totally smitten by Moses and the Israelites, and all the lands east of the river Jordan, north of the Dead Sea, all the way to the Golan Heights and the Bashan being taken by the Israelites. That's the story. And now the Israelites are, again, according to the plan, they are now settled in a camp across the river Jordan, east of the river Jordan, in front of the passage to Jericho. Okay? And from now on, the whole story will cover these few months. They were waiting over there to basically say goodbye to Moses, listen to his will or basically legacy, and then see him going up to the mount, leaving this world, and by this we finish the 5 books of Moses. Okay, and that will happen at the end of the high holidays on Tishrei. So the story that we are right now at, as they are settling in that camp that are going to stay there for a few months in front of Jericho, on the south they have the Moabites, and the king of the Moabites, his name is Balak, and he is so much afraid, as the Torah is saying, verse 3, Vayagor Moav mipnei ha'meod. And the Moabites, the nation of Moab, they're very, very afraid and stressed out because of the Israelites, because they saw how the Israelites destroyed the Amorite kingdoms, removed them from the face of the earth forever, and they were really afraid they are going to be next. They do not know that they had a direct order from God not to touch the Moabites at that time. The time was not ripe. Ruth, the Moabite, was supposed to come out of that nation and be the great-grandmother of King David. She was not born yet, and then only King David, 500 years later, took over the Moabites. Now, although they continued to exist few centuries later. Now, the Moabites are really scared, and what do? They make a pact with the Midianites. The Moabites and the Midianites didn't like each other, but, my enemy's enemy is my friend. They make a pact with the Midianites. They're also really afraid of the rising power of the Israelites, and they are doing another move. And Vayishlach Malachim el Bil'am ben Be'or Petorah. Verse 5, and Balak is sending messengers to Balaam, who was the biggest sorcerer, magician of the dark arts in the Near East at that time, and to call him, Lemor ine am yatsa miMitzrayim, to call him for help. Let's align together. We will pay you. We will provide you with a lot of fortune and respect. Come and let's beat the Israelites together and drive them away from the land. Okay, I'm just going to make it really short. Balaam finally is, in the beginning, saying, no, we'll go into it right now because that doesn't matter. Balaam is saying no, then he says yes, he comes with them, and then he starts to, as he's being paid for, invited for, and I'm not going to the details, but just you'll see what. Chapter 23, verse 1, Vayomer Bilam el Balak bnei li bazeh shiva mizbechot. Bilam is telling Balak, the king of Moab, you want me to curse them? Build for me 7 altars. Bring me over, prepare 7 oxen and 7 sheep. And Bilam is offering those 7 oxen on the 7 altars. And he then starting to try to curse, and that happens few times. Every time he's trying to curse, only amazing blessings come out of his mouth, even prophecies speaking about the days of the Messiah, the coming of the Messiah. Hopefully we'll see that with our eyes. Okay? Every time he's trying to curse, he cannot. It's impossible. Whatever he's trying, he's simply trying to, let's say, in what is common today, in the language of today's people who connect to the world beyond, to give us, we have all kind of people in that profession, and he's trying to bring a real negative force to destroy the Israelites. By the way, very important for the story, the Israelites have no idea that this is happening. And he's standing on the mountain, watching the camp, and he's doing whatever he does, whatever he can in his wisdom of the dark arts to really channel the worst forces of negativity to basically destroy the Israelite nation. Instead, every time he tries to do that, only blessings come out of his mouth. Till at the end, Balak cannot stand it anymore. And his reaction is very upset. After a few times, the words, it's real amazing poetry. Some of it became intrinsic part of the Jewish prayer because it's the amazing blessings. One of them, just read you an example, verse 9, Kara shachav ka'ari. He speaking about the Israelite nation, they will settle as a lion, ukelavi is a lion, who will raise him up? Mevarchecha baruch v'orarecha arur. Whoever blesses you is blessed, whoever curses you is cursed. Vayicharaf Balak el Bilam vayispo kapav. Verse 10, Balak got really angry about Bilam. And he says, Vayom Balak el Bilam, Lakov oivai kraticha. Balak says to Bilam, I called you to curse mine enemies, and now you bless them. Blessings 3 times. והנה ברכת ברך זה 3 פעמים. ואתה ברח לך על מקומך. And now he's really driving me away in disgrace. Run away to your place. אמרתי אכבדך. I meant to give you a lot of respect. והנה מנעך השם בכבוד. But God does not want you to have respect. Okay. The story goes on and he continues to bless the Israelites and prophesies about the end of the enemies of the Israelites. But the story becomes complicated. And soon I'll explain exactly how that applies to each one of us today. Chapter 25, it says in the Midrash that Bilam, before he left, he told Balak and the Midianites, I want to tell you something. I was trying my best and my abilities are the highest. You know that. Everyone around the Near East knows that my abilities to curse and to destroy people, nations, are beyond anybody else's imagination. Okay? This is very important for all of us to know. However, I tried genuinely for 3 times and I could not. They don't even know we are cursing them. I'm going to tell you one thing. These people, their only way to destroy them is from within. And one thing I know, the easiest way to destroy them is by injecting sexually immoral actions into the camp. And I'm telling you, according to my knowledge, if you're going to send your most beautiful girls to the camp of the Israelites, they won't be able to say no. And the moment your girls, you're going to train them to seduce the Israelites and then to do all kind of sexual, free sex love, and you're going and they're going to do it with them, and then they can draw them into idol worshipping, you'll see they will fall apart from within. Okay? And that's exactly what they are doing. Balak, the king of Moab, and the Midianites, they simply take the most beautiful girls of the nobility, the princesses, the daughters of the most powerful people of the Midianites and the Moabites, and they send them to the camp of the Israelites. And they seduce the Israelites, and as Balaam said, the Israelites are incapable of saying no. Because of some reasons, it's not the place right now to explain. And the moment the Israelites start with free love, free sex, free whatever, it's like, let us do some, the Moabites and the girls are saying, you guys are for love others as you love yourself, so no discrimination. Why should you love your wives more than you love us? We're humans also. We're also God's creatures, and you should not discriminate. You should love us equally. And there's no power, the Zohar explains, there was no power of judgment at all in the world at that time, and the Israelites fall into the trap. The result, as the Torah is saying, verse 3, Vayitzamed Israel leBaal Peor, and Israel is attaching to Baal Peor, which is the god of the Moabites, because the girls seduced them into it. Vayicharaf Adonai b'Yisrael, and God got upset with Israel. A plague is starting. 24,000 people died in the plague. Only one person realized what to do. And again, I won't go into the details. This is not the story right now. And the man is Pinchas. Verse 7 in chapter 25. Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, got up from the congregation. He took a spear in his hand. ויקח רומח בידו, ויבוא חריש ישראל על הקובה. And he went into one of the tents in which there was the biggest, most public event of that kind. That was the story of Zimri, one of the greatest leaders of the tribe of Shimon. He took Cosbi, the daughter of Balak, and in front of the whole nation, they went into the tent to do whatever we described before. Pinchas went after them, killed both of them in one shot, and the plague stopped at that moment. So we have here two things. One thing is stopping a plague, stopping a disease. As we said, during the month of Tammuz, the month of Cancer, the three parashot that are the central for this month, which are Parashat Chukat, Balak, and next week Pinchas, are mostly about achieving healing. Okay, that's the main thing. However, there's another thing. What brings people to sickness? The number one is stress, anxiety, and lack of faith. And I'll give you an example, a story from my life. The story goes like this. Years ago, I'm running a community, a Jewish community, in one of the cities of North America. I won't tell which one right now. And I get a letter from the Jewish Federation of that city that the Jewish Federation would like to enhance Jewish studies in that city. So they are going to publish a special book that will have all the studies of the different Jewish centers, communities in the whole city for the next year. And if we want to be inside that magazine or that publication, we should send, and there were instructions how to send the information. Okay, and they say, send the information. We get in touch with you if we have any kind of question before the publishing day. So I'm sending the information for our community, and I don't get anything in return. No feedback, no questioning, and I'm feeling there's something fishy in that. So I'm calling the department in the Jewish Federation, and I'm asking like who is responsible for that publication and for the information I've sent. And the lady answers me, and she goes crazy, like shouting at me, yelling at me. It's like, I don't know her. And it takes me a while to realize, like, what do you want from me? No, you did it wrong. You sent the wrong information. You sent it the wrong way. This is not the way. So she's screaming and yelling and bashing and very, very impolite and very dirty language. After she stops screaming, I'm asking her, okay, so look, I really want to apologize. I really want to apologize for not doing the right thing, but here I am on the phone, and tell me, please, what should I do to remedy the situation? And I said it with a lot of positive energy because, that's the way you should do it. And she said, you just did it. I'll fix it. Everything will happen. Okay, you trust me. Everything will go okay. And, I hang up and I say, look, it's working. You just send people light and just send people love. And doesn't matter how much negativity, you send light and things are going to be okay. The publication, a while later, the publication came out. All the information I've sent was there. Everything was perfectly okay. And you see, it works. Months later, I'm sitting with the lady that she was one of the students, and she came to me with a very, very sad story about her son who was sick. He had a tumor in his brain, like a real troubling story that finally it went out okay, Baruch Hashem, thank God. But after she tells me, she's asking me what to do about the boy and stuff like this, and she tells me, remember months ago, you called the Jewish Federation and you spoke with that lady that spoke really brutally to you, and she said you already did it and everything is okay. Do you remember that talk? I said, yes. How do you know about it? She said, because I was sitting in the room when that was happening. I'm sitting there with another man in the office, and we saw and we heard the way she treated you. And you know what? The moment she hung up, she said, never on my dead body, which was really terrible. And because, I heard what she said, how she spoke to you, I heard also on the phone, was loud, what you answered her with so much politeness, with so much dignity and light and so on. And I heard it, my colleague heard it also, and we heard what she said on my dead body. She said, I'm not going to let his things to go into the publication of the Jewish Federation. So both of us, me and my colleague, she said, we went to the supervisor, we told her what happened, and she made that lady, forced her to put your stuff into the publication. So that's how the story went. Look, I had no idea about it. What is the message over here? The message is very important. Here it is, the story of Balak, who was, according to the Zohar, a sorcerer also, a master of black magic. He also had the mastery of witchcraft. He was very big, and that's why the Moabites nominated him as their king. Why didn't he fight the Israelites himself? The answer is because he was not that good in cursing. So he thought, together with Balaam, who was also the master of sorcery, together they can simply destroy the Israelite nation. Now, if you think that this story sounds really bizarre, excavations in Egypt. Everybody knows that Egypt is a world center for excavations for at least a century and a half. And they found out in a place that is called Tel El Amarna, there was a special temple in which for centuries the Egyptian government and the pharaohs were using that place to put black magic on their enemies. So basically the war, first and for all, was happening in the level of witchcraft. The world at that time, you never went to war without sorcerers, warlocks, all methods and tools of witchcraft. That was their way. They're all obsessed with it. And whoever does some archaeology in Israel knows that the moment you come to a layer of the Canaanite period before the time of Joshua and the tribes taking over the land, in every room, in every space built by the Canaanites, there were tools of witchcraft. You can tell it, you can see it in the walls, inside the rooms, on the walls. It's like it was all over. Everything, all that region was obsessed with dark magic and black magic. So, what is the power of black magic? And the point is like this. Here we have an amazing lesson. I know personally, I met so many people that are obsessed with other people's black magic. There's still people today doing that. Or they're obsessed. You know, a lot of Jews still have tradition. I know it from home, from stories, from my family. The obsession and the fear from evil eye. The point is like this. We see here a very strong message of the Torah. You can take the worst, the most powerful, dangerous people, and you can use them against other people in order to destroy their lives. However, if you will be busy all the time, being afraid, obsessed with black magic or evil eye, this is like very important, that Maimonides speaks a lot about it. All those forces, they can hurt you in one condition. You invite them in. How do you invite them in? The more power you give them with being obsessed with the fear and the stress, the bigger the gates you open to let them in. I'll give you another story, a little bit bizarre. You can find this story in the end of one of the most famous books of Rabbi Lury's books, The Gate of Reincarnation, Sha'ar Gilgulim. In the end of the book, there's a story of Rabbi Chaim Vital that he was invited to a certain household in which the lady of the house, she was possessed by a bad spirit, and she was really behaving in a terrible, terrible way. So Rabbi Chaim Vital comes to the house and he's trying to get the possession to talk. And he's asking him, how did he get in? You know, you have no permission to get into somebody's home and somebody's body. No permission whatsoever. How did you get in? So the possession said, this lady, that she looks like an honest, religious, nice woman, she's not that much. Because she's a very angry person, and one day, and she curses a lot, and one day she tried to get the fire on, and it was hard for her to get the fire on. The wood was wet, something like this. She got really upset, and she went into a fit. She started to curse, and she said terrible words in which she basically invited the dark side. And the moment she was in such rage and she invited the dark side, she opened the gate and I came in. Okay? Which means as we learn in this parasha. The nation of Israel, they're sitting there, and it says, as Balaam is saying, Matovu oalecha Israel. How good are your tents, Israel. Mishkenotecha Yaakov, your dwellings, Jacob. It was the other way. Matovu oalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Israel. That's one of the very famous verses of the whole Bible. Chapter 24, verse 5. How good are your tents, Jacob, your dwellings, Israel. Okay? That's what he could see. Why? They had no idea they're being cursed. They had no idea somebody is trying to destroy them. They were busy doing the right thing, which means they were focused on their prayers, their God's worship, loving each other, community work. They were exactly following the Torah the way Moses raised them. What was the result? Those bunch of weirdos, Balak and Balaam, with so much ego, obsessed with hurting other people, as the Zohar is saying, they were at one thing, hurting other people, and that could not even touch them even a bit. When their shields fell, as Balaam said, these people, the only way to hurt them is basically you're to get them into opening the open from within. And the message is for each one of us. Yes, you can go around and looking for all kinds of amulets and red strings and all kinds of methods to protect yourself from the dark side. And you know what? The more obsessed you are with protecting yourself from the dark side, you know what? That's what they say in NLP. The human brain cannot understand the word no. So when you say, I do not want darkness, what are you focused on? Darkness. I do not want the evil eye. What do you focus on? The evil eye. That's how you give forces to the dark side, because that's what you focus on. And what your thoughts are focused on, that's what you become. So, how do I get away from the obsession of fear, from other people's negativity? Now, my story was not about any dark magic, just some people's hatred, and I have no idea what was the story of that lady that she hated me so much. I have no idea. I didn't even ask. Okay? But the point was, she wanted to hurt me, my community. The point was, I had no idea that this is happening. Happened to be, there were two other people in the room. They heard her terrible behavior, and they were impressed for my positive response, and they did everything in their power, and the result was that whatever came out was the right thing. What's the message over here? That's exactly the story. If we are going to be busy with who hates us, who declares that he is our enemy, who is we're not supposed to be too gullible. But being obsessed with all the negativity that can happen to us, it doesn't leave you time and space for life. Forget about it. So and we know what's the best way to remove darkness, to bring in light. So when you go on with your business and you focus daily, weekly, and monthly, after how can I be basically occupied all the time with generating positivity? In that manner, I don't need to be obsessed all the time with who can hurt me, because you have no idea how many people can conspire behind your back, on that side, on that side. Who knows? If you're going to be busy with that, you won't have a life. So you're being warned. So the point is that our biggest enemy is always within. And when we open the gate by being obsessed with anger, hatred, fear, stress, being all the time busy with other people's wrongdoings, that's when we open the gate for all troubles to come in. So as again, the best way to remove darkness is simply to focus on the light. Instead of focusing on who can hurt us, who can hate us, and who can put bad spells upon us, or negativity or evil eye, if you're going to be busy with that, that's going to be a problem. And that's also a proof. When is it that we obsess with that? It's a very important symptom to show that you are not obsessed enough with doing something great with your life. We are people that are born for greatness. Why? We are all created in the image of God. I just want to read some words from the Zohar of this parasha, just to emphasize this message. About this story, I'm reading from the Zohar, Parashat Balak, in Perush HaSulam of Rabbi Ashlag, first in the Zohar, verse 7. כתיב, אמר אדוני מבשן אשיב עם צולות ים. יתלה נשבה ליבה למנותה דקודשה בריחו, דכל מילוי מילי קשות. וממנותה סגי, דכיוון דמילה אמר, כולה יתאבד. ודע ברנש דחיק ליבה, ואמר לכמה שנין ולכמה זמנין, השתלם דע. תהיו כך, כפום רבבנו דילי, דכל עלמין מילי יקרי. החיו, מילוי ברנש זעיר, וכל מילוי נון לפום שעתה. החיו לפום שעתה, אבל בתיובתה ובעותה ובדובדין תבין. ובדמעין סגין, יהיו קדישה רב ועילה על כל עלמה, הזהיר נאורי וכמית קדושתי, לגבי דברנש למעבד רעותי. I think this is one of the most central verses, not of this parasha, but of the whole Zohar. And what does it say? He's giving a quote from Psalms 68. And he says like this, Yesh lanu, I'm translating into English. We should put our heart, align it, or focus it to the emunah, the faith and connection and unity with God. That all his words are the words of truth and faith, great faith. Because he said that, because when God said something, that was already done. Which means we understand that God's words are above time and space, which means the words of God, the promises of God are eternal, above space and time, and no one can change his promises because his promises are eternal. He never changes his mind. While a human being has a very narrow heart, that's what the Zohar is saying. And a person says it's going to take years, and how long would it take? And always we have that limitation that we are under time and under the limitations of space. Okay? But God, according to his reign, his power, his ruling, that the whole world, all the worlds are full of his glory. That's what God is about. It's all about the glory beyond space and time. The words and the issues of a human being, they're small. All what he does is only timely. You know, once you do that, then you change your mind, you do something else, then you do something else. You are unstable. It's all small. It's all very, very limited. Very, what the Zohar is saying. A human being is a very humiliating. וכך הוא עצמו, and the person, and a human being, every human being, is only timely. Whatever we say, it's right for that time. And we're not really committed to that. כצל עובר, like a passing shadow. You look at the pavement and you see a human being passing by and you see the shadow. Does the shadow leave anything? Nothing. Nothing, not even the slightest impression on the floor. That's how we are. So whenever the human being is busy with, I do that, I made a decision, that's my opinion and that's my opinion. I remember once, like years ago, somebody came to me and said, I want to tell you my opinion. And I looked inside and I realized I have a big resistance. And I asked myself, why do I have a big resistance to hear that person's opinion? Because who cares for your opinion? I would like to know the truth. When you say, I'm going to give you my opinion, rarely there is a connection between reality and somebody's opinion. Usually when people want to express their opinion, it means they have an accumulation of negative attitude and they suffer from it, but they want to share because, it takes to celebrate negativity. Suffering alone, it's not enough. And in Hebrew, they say, Nechamat Rabim, Tzarat Rabim Nechamat Tipshim. When the multitude are suffering, it's a consolation of the fools. Which means, I don't want to suffer alone. My consolation that other people will suffer together with me. So that's what opinion is about. I'm troubled, and I want you to be troubled too. Who wants that? I don't want your opinion. And by the way, the word opinion does not exist in Hebrew. In Hebrew, when you want to say, I want to express my opinion, the closest to standard real Hebrew is lefi aniyut dati, which means according to my poor knowledge. The moment you say that, you have to listen to what you say. According to my poor knowledge, which means, that's exactly what the Zohar say. My knowledge is poor, my words are very limited, and you know what, with the limited things, so I want to share something with you. So if you have a little bit of humility when you express your opinion, it's not that negative than when you think that everybody needs to hear your opinion. But the Zohar continues, yes, human beings are small, limited, narrow heart, very, very close to nothing, like a passing shadow. However, aval b'tshuva u'tfilah, but when we reconnect to the Creator, reconnect because we were created connected. We all have the imprint of our original connection to the eternal. All of us have it inside. We just have to go deep inside to find that fine-tuning, that note that we all were created with it. That's basically our calling and our journey. And without that, we'll never find peace, true peace. But with reconnection, what is translated wrongly in English to repentance, no, teshuvah means reconnecting, and prayer and good deeds, with a lot of tears, a human being can become holy. Ki harav ha'elyon al kol olam, because the one who is the greatest, the biggest of everything, the creator of the universe, me'ir oro, is giving, shining his light. ומצמצם קדושתו אל האדם לעשות רצונו. And he limits his holiness to fit the person's needs and desires when he or she becomes holy. Listen again. When a person is reconnecting to God, when a person is working on his or her faith, which means connecting our souls, our hearts, our minds, all our being back to our Creator, the Almighty God will simply narrow His great holiness to fit that person's desires and needs, so the Creator will follow the needs and the desires of that holy person. As it says, "Tzaddik gozer v'akadosh baruch hu mekayem." The righteous man makes a decree and God follows his decree. So, a human being can simply sway from one end to another. On one end, when we are busy with our fears, with our silly desires and selfishness and so on, we are considered like a passing shadow that leaves nothing. And that's why you see people that with all the money, the power, the property, the fame they gain, they look in the mirror and they feel empty, like I have nothing. So they're obsessed with who took it away from me? Who can take it away from me? How many people did I meet with huge power, fortune, money, assets, and they're so neurotic? You feel so much sorry for them. You have so much and you have so little or so nothing. You feel like it's a shadow passing by. Why? Because you don't really have a true connection to God. And when you have a true connection to God, as I said, with repentance, with love, with prayer, with tears, with good deeds, when you're focusing on that, not just that you are protected, whatever you really want to achieve, God will follow your wishes because He created it for you, just for you. Remember that. So this is, I think, an amazing message. Be busy, we're doing good. We're doing what's right, what's positive. And when you're busy destroying yourself by fear, stress, anger, cursing others, you're opening the gate. So even though you were not supposed to get it before, but the moment you do that, you focus on that, you invite that in. This is one of the most amazing messages that a human being can have. On the other hand, you see also how to deal with it. Here it is, the story of Pinchas. And the story of Pinchas, here it is. The whole nation is at fault. The whole nation fell apart. They're fighting with each other. There's no unity. They're into idol worshipping, into sexual immorality. All of that is happening, and the plague is hitting. And in a short time, 24,000 people die in the plague. And the story is that Moses and Aaron and the whole Sanhedrin, the whole parliament or the court of the Israelite people standing there, and everybody's crying out of stress. Nobody knows what to do. They're simply totally upset. And Pinchas, the only one who remembered what should be done. And he goes to Moses and he said, "My teacher Moses, didn't you teach us that that's what should be done?" And Moses says, "You're right. That's what should be done." He takes his spear, Pinchas. He knows. I won't go into this detail again. I taught it a lot in previous teaching in previous years, but the focus is he's the person in the middle of the chaos, the pain, the death, and all this tumultuous time that everything is falling apart in front of their eyes after 40 years in the desert. And he's the only one who got himself together and stayed connected to holiness. He knew that if he kills Zimri, that was the right thing to do, and Cosby, he will be killed by the rest of the tribe of Shimon that were standing around these people. Okay? He didn't mind. He was ready to sacrifice his life, and he was so ready to give up his life that he simply killed them and he took off into a clinical death. But what he did changed the course of history. He created with his awakening against all the odds, against all the pain, the suffering, the death that was around in the mix-up and the negativity that was going around, everybody's mistakes. He simply could not do but one thing. Focus on the right thing. Focus on the love of man and the love of God, and doing the right thing without hesitation. Although he knew it's going to cost him with his life. And because of that, not just that he stopped the plague, he was rising to a place no human arrived before him. Pinchas, he is the person that elevated himself at that moment to become to what we know today as Elijah, the prophet, the person who never died. And he is an angel that comes and helps till the last days before the Messiah is coming. So the message for us is very simple, very powerful. If we follow that, we're guaranteed to have healthy life, protected life, life full of bliss, no matter what the odds are, no matter how negative people come at our way. Just think about it. Yes, there are so many negative people. There are so many opportunities that we have negative people on our way. If you just think about the odds, we have no chance to succeed in anything. So how come a long history, even in times that evil was reigning supreme in much bigger scale than today, today it's like it's a heaven relatively to a century ago, 2 centuries ago, a millennium ago, 2 millennia ago. The world is so much better, and still we see every day evil coming out from, the most democratic countries. You always have freedom, and it's disguised with non-freedom and atrocities, and you can find this hypocrisy all over the planet. And now, because everything is open, things come to the surface by droves, and you hear atrocities, and you hear all kinds of terrible stuff coming up, and you see people that running governments and states and big corporations that are cooperating with so many crimes that are happening all over, and you ask yourself, I have no chances to really doing anything good. People did good 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, when things were even worse. Why? When you follow the path that what we just learned from the Zohar, nothing can stop you because you're not alone. There's a bigger force, the biggest force, going with you. Then all of these negative forces, they're nothing. Nothing to compare because you're not alone. Thank you so much. God bless you, and a lot of health, happiness, and just work on focusing on doing good. All the rest, it's none of our business. Thank you so much.